it is true that once a party approaches a court of law, especially whenever there is a situation of urgency, the court is expected to make some pronouncement that will preserve the rest pending when the substantive suit is determined. Now, I know some persons may not be comfortable with the Supreme Court. In fact, many lawyers have expressed dissatisfaction with that particular order. But we should appreciate the fact that the Attorney General has raised objection to the action filed by the governments of the three federating units that make up the nation. And it is the position of the law that once an objection is raised on the jurisdiction of a Supreme Court entertaining a matter, that the Supreme Court will first of all look at the objection raised before proceeding further. And sorry, before I proceed, this matter is already sub judice, so I will try as much as possible, not to delve much into the facts of that case, so as not to make any preemptive comment in that regard. If I do that, it also runs foul, to the tenets of our profession. Yet I have the right to make what I will refer to as fair comment on this issue. So, having said that, the point there is that I think I was talking about. So sorry, I was before I deviated.
Yeah, you were talking about the Attorney General having.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Exactly. But in this issue, the interim order had already been made before the Attorney General approached the court. This objection was filed after this order had been made, and ordinarily going by the director of the central bank, today will have been the last day for us to make use of the old legal tender. So the court will have been foisted with the state of helplessness, if not for the fact that the court made this particular interim order. And as I said earlier, this order will not last long. It will last for a few days before the court will not take a final position on this particular issue. But I think, without making any prejudicial comment, with due respect to the three state governors that approached, or governments that approached the Supreme Court, they went to the wrong court, in my own opinion. The appropriate court would have been the Federal High Court, because the facts of this particular case, on the face of it, is that which ordinarily would have made every right-thinking member of the profession, the legal profession, to know that the appropriate court to approach is the Federal High Court. And I believe the state governments of these three states, they are also not ignorant of this particular fact. Maybe for reasons best known to them, they decided to approach the Supreme Court. And that may be one of the reasons for the stance of the Attorney General, that the action filed amounts to abuse of court process, because the Supreme Court, just like most other courts in Nigeria, have felt that what amounts to abuse of court process is multifaceted. Any action that is geared towards making mockery of the judicial process will be deemed to amount to abuse of court process, because this issue has to do with legal tender, and as was rightly pointed out by the Attorney General of the Federation, there's no dispute between the government of the federating states and the Federation of Nigeria. Now let me make that distinction. In making this distinction, let me use an example. Some months back in this country, the government of Rivers State approached the Federal High Court to challenge the powers of the Federal Land Revenue Service to collect VAT. That wasn't a dispute between the government of Rivers State and the Federation of Nigeria. Rather, the Rivers State government went to court to challenge the powers of an agency of the federal government of Nigeria to collect VAT, which ordinarily the Rivers State government argued should be the right of the government of Rivers State. So that was the dispute between the government of Rivers State and the federal government of Nigeria, and the right court will be the Federal High Court in terms of such matter. But for instance, like what happened in the early 2000s when Ozokalo was fond of going to Supreme Court to file action against the federal government, cases like AG Federation against AG Abia State, and that was where principles like doctrine of covering the field was espoused. In that particular case, AG Abia State and others against AG Federation, the bone of contention had to do with the rights or the powers of the federal government to meddle in issues bordering on conduct of local government election. Now, that dispute was a dispute between Abia State, Abia State government and the Federation. Why? The Constitution has provided that, the Constitution has made provision for what we call exclusive legislative list, concurrent legislative list. We also have the residuary list, being any list that is not taken care of in the exclusive or concurrent. So the Abia State government now argued that the federal government trying to meddle in issues bordering on conduct of local government election is now trying to delve into the concurrent legislative list. So the federation is an artificial entity. The Nigerian nation is governed by the Nigerian Constitution. So whenever a state government feels that you are now trying to use up the power that government is entitled to, that means it's a dispute between that state and the federation.
Okay.
It's a dispute between the state and the federation.
Okay.
Now, in this instance, the Central Bank of Nigeria is an agency of the federal government, even though in the face of it is expected to be an independent agency. If you have any problem with the central bank's policy, which has to do with legal tender, the right court to approach by virtue of section 251 of the Nigerian Constitution is the Federal High Court, and not the Supreme Court in its original jurisdiction. Okay. And when we talk about original jurisdiction means the first court you have to approach.
Okay.
Like the Federal High Court is the court that is seized the original jurisdiction in this matter. If at the end of adjudication, if you don't feel comfortable, you can now approach the Court of Appeal, after which you can further move to the Supreme Court. That is the procedure. Likewise, whenever two states are having issues, two states that has to do with conflicts in law, in fact, the court that has original jurisdiction is the Supreme Court. In other words, if, for instance, Enugu State and Ebonyi State, if these two states are having issues with regard to boundary, or the state that we have control over oil well, we will now discover oil well these days, and people are celebrating. So I know very soon we'll find oil well between Ebonyi and Enugu. So if there is this dispute as to the state that should own a particular oil well, if the oil well falls within the boundary of Ebonyi and Enugu, the appropriate court sees the original jurisdiction will be a Supreme Court, because this is dispute between two states. So I think without sounding prejudicial, the Attorney General of the Federation did the right thing by raising the objection, and I think the Supreme Court also did the right thing by making that order, because the order was made first before the preliminary objection was filed. And as I say, the Supreme Court will have been seized with a state of helplessness if it should fold its hands and watch for the main suit to be entertained, because ordinarily by today that will be the end of it. But I think we have just few days to next week. We will now wait and see what the Supreme Court will make of it.
All right, and with this Supreme Court's pronouncement, it leaves the question of what exactly is the stand of the Central Bank of Nigeria, because today was supposed to be the deadline for the use of the old Naira notes, and we still have the challenge of the new Naira note scarcity. Now the Supreme Court's pronouncement, what do you think, or what will be the order of the day in the coming days? Because the CBN is mum about this particular Supreme Court pronouncement. We've not gotten any response from Emefiele to know if we're actually sticking with the deadline of today, February 10th, or Nigerians can still go ahead to make use of their old Naira notes up until next week Wednesday, when the Supreme Court finally gives a final verdict.
The truth is that the Central Bank cannot do anything about it.
Okay.
Because the order of the Supreme Court is binding on all establishments and institutions in the country. In as much as the Central Bank wasn't made a party to this suit, and many persons argue that it was a deliberate attempt by the governments of the three states that went to court, to not to give it a coloration of a matter that should have been filed at the Federal High Court. Then now there's a subsisting court order, which is within the knowledge of the public, and the CBN is an agency of the federal government. So the truth, the reality legally on ground is that rejecting any old tender, old currency at this juncture, can give rise to civil liability. Any commercial bank that refuses to collect the old legal tender definitely will be exposing itself to risk of being sued, because that judicial pronouncement by the highest court of the land stands till next week.
When the hearing happens.
Okay. And then another will be made one way or the other. So for now, it remains a legal tender, and that's the beauty of what we refer to as judge-made law. The Constitution can say that Obi is a boy. When you go to court, the court will say Obi is a man, and Obi is not a boy. Because the court has interpreted, or because the court has made a pronouncement that Obi is a man, Obi will be a man until the contrary is so the Supreme Court has made an order, and the Central Bank, whether the Central Bank keeps mute or not, the Central Bank is under obligation to comply with that order. Doing otherwise will amount to a contemptuous act. And of course, there are authorities to that effect. It's not in all cases whereby a party will refuse to obey a court order because that party wasn't sued in the main suit, like a popular case of Ubede against I think Delta State Housing Authority. In that particular case, this issue was raised. Once an order of this nature has been made, all establishments in the land are bound to comply with the order made by the court in this regard. So that's the position as it stands.
So it doesn't matter if the Attorney General has filed an objection.
No, it doesn't matter. The order has been made. The order has not been vacated.
Even with the CBN not being joined as
an order has been made, directed, and CBN is an agency of the federal government. Normally in law, at times when a principal is known, an agent is known, you don't sue the agent, you sue the principal. Ideally, the central bank will have been a necessary party. But as I said, maybe the government of these 3 states, they intentionally excluded the central bank because doing otherwise will have especially exposed the fact that they are not supposed to approach the Supreme Court in its original jurisdiction. Maybe that was why they were smart to exclude the central bank. But excluding the central bank does not also negate the fact that they approached the wrong court.
Okay, so until the hearing happens and they determine that this was filed in the
that particular until 15th of this thing elapses, that order subsists, and we are all bound to obey that order. And interestingly, that's the position of the law. Once an order of a court of law is made, no matter how useless that order may seem to be on the face of it, you are bound to obey it. Or if you don't feel comfortable with that order, you can apply to have that order. You can appeal that order to a higher court, or you can have it. You can apply to have that order set aside. But in this case, the Supreme Court is the highest law and the highest court of the land. Once the Supreme Court makes an order, you cannot approach any other authority apart from for instance, if it's a judgment that has to do with criminal conviction, apart from the prerogative of mercy that could be exercised by the president, you can only appeal to God Almighty once the Supreme Court rules, because that's the final court of the land, highest court of the land.
All right, I'm talking about the Supreme Court's final ruling. This particular Supreme Court's involvement has actually brought up questions of the justice system, the judicial processes. Eventually, the Supreme Court rules. What do you think? I don't know, I'm just asking the question. What do you think would be the verdict of the Supreme Court, judging from what is actually playing out? We've seen governors of some states actually requesting for an extension of the deadline for the use of the Naira note. Some are saying it should stay for as long as 6 months. Some are saying that the new old Naira note should coexist with the new Naira note until there's a total mop-up of the old Naira note and there's full implementation or full use of the new Naira note. What do you see the Supreme Court ruling on, judging from what is actually playing out?
I cannot answer that question directly. Answering same we amount to contempt of court. Okay. But what I will say, let's wait and see what happens. But another thing I will say is this: the Supreme Court, apart from being a court of law, is a court of policy. And Supreme Court is made up of human beings. They are Nigerians. They are looking at the entire picture, even though they will not tell you expressly in their judgment. Jurisprudentially, while making any pronouncement, they tend to look at the society at large. And the 3 arms of government, that they are independent of one another, yet that they are interdependent. As a lawyer, I know what most of us, the reservations most of us have with the steps taken by these 3 state governments in approaching the Supreme Court in its original jurisdiction to entertain this matter, which I've voiced that particular sentiment out. I voiced it out here this morning that they approached a wrong court for reasons best known to them. So let's wait and see what the Supreme Court will do at the end of the day. But what I have to say is this: the whole thing is on the part of the government now. I think they are embarking on a sinister move. I've said this somewhere that whenever you find state governors all of a sudden becoming sympathetic to the plight of Nigerians, they know that they are not actually sympathetic to the plight of Nigerians. Rather, they are trying to protect their interests. It is not the only issue. It's not the issue of cash scarcity that we are contending with. Fuel scarcity as well. Why haven't they gone to court? Why haven't they gone to court to fight for maybe the Supreme Court to make an order ordering whoever, the owners of Tank Farm, Ipman, and all these other establishments? They have many names, NNPC and the rest of them. Do they still answer NNPC? It's not limited.
NNPCL.
NNPCL. Whether NNPCL or NNPC, it's still the same thing, just like NEPA and EDC. Change of name, the same problem. So what I'm saying in essence is that why haven't they gone to court to fight for Nigerians in that regard? Is it because the election is around the corner? And some days back, Malam El-Rufai raised an allegation that some persons, indirect allegation that some persons are working against the APC presidential candidate. And we should try and find out whether the Kogi and Zamfara state governors, whether they are sympathetic to the presidential ambition of Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu. If the answer is in the affirmative, we may not be rest assured that there may be some other things playing out behind the scene, because some persons believe that there are some people still holding the old currency, which they want to use in a on election day in inducing voters. So for them to be crying more than the bereaved, these are governors who don't have problem in accessing funds, to the best of my knowledge. I was in a banking hall 2 days back. My ATM card got stuck in an ATM machine somewhere in this state. When I went to that banking hall in the morning, that was when I had a glimpse of what we refer to as a valley of shadow of death. There was anarchy everywhere. Something like NSAS protest going on there, anarchy everywhere. I quietly went back to my office. It was a miracle for me to get my ATM card that day later in the day. What am I trying to say? I didn't see any governor there. I didn't see any honorable member there. How come these people that don't go to bank with us are now the ones crying more than the bereaved? For many years now, they've never shown interest in the plight of Nigerians. Only for some governors to wake up overnight, and they are now rushing to Supreme Court to tell the Supreme Court that the court should grant an order, so that Nigerians are suffering.
Well,
actually, Nigerians are suffering, but I don't think they are the ones that should be crying for Nigerians.
But they're the commander-in-chief of their own states, and through their lawyer, Abdul Hakim Uthman Mustafa, he said that they are filing this ex parte order because they are concerned about the effects of the CBN redesign policy and the effects on the state residents. And they're also talking about the 3 months deadline that was given by the federal government being unreasonable for residents of their states to do away with this money and get the new Naira notes into circulation. Isn't this enough reason for them to cry out? If the people of the states that they govern are crying out of hardship because of this policy, don't you think that they deserve to go out there and make this kind of complaints?
We now have repentant governors, mad governors, good people. All this why I gave an example. There are many challenges Nigerians are contending with. And they have never gone to court. Now they have become emergency human rights activists, now filing public interest litigation for the Nigerian people. All of a sudden, they now woke up when bandits were terrorizing many states in the north. They never went to court, maybe to compare the commander-in-chief to deploy more military presence in their states. All this while, when Nigerians are contending with recession, they never went to court. There's one that is still ongoing, fuel scarcity. I believe if the price of PMS should be reduced to 50 Naira, despite this cash scarcity, believe me, many Nigerians will be happy, because part of the problems we are having now has to do with the high cost of PMS. It has affected virtually everything adversely. Yeah. If the cost of PMS should come down should come down to, let's say, 30 Naira, believe you me, these governors don't need to go to court. We're celebrating them. There is jubilation everywhere for them, but they haven't gone to court. And why are they not crying more than the bereaved?
Who is the bereaved?
The Nigerian people. The ordinary people.
They are also Nigerian people.
But have you ever seen any of them in the banking hall? They don't come to any banking hall. So something is playing out somewhere. I have said in some other place that what is playing out is like a battle going on in a polygamous home.
What about the fear that this might cause unrest within the states, as we've seen in a southwestern state, I think Ogun State actually, where protests happened in the streets, civil unrest. These are the things that the governors might just be concerned about.
Yes, if they want the right thing to be done, there are allegations that the managers and officials of some of these commercial banks, they are the ones sabotaging the effort of the central bank. Some persons have been arrested, and it was in the news. I don't know how verifiable that news is, that the Borno State governor even threatened to revoke the CFO. Is he of a filling station or bank? One either of any banking, of any bank, any commercial bank, or any filling station that fails to do the needful. So if they don't want Nigerians to resort to violence, there are other measures they can put in place by ordering, the various MDs or the various commercial banks in their states not to indulge in corrupt practices, and that anybody caught indulging in corrupt practices in dispensing cash to Nigerian people, that the person will be dealt with and they should mean business. So once they do that, all of us will sit up. And I know that once they do that, the problem may still continue, but at least the challenges being encountered may be reduced to the barest minimum. So the point there is this cashless policy is affecting most of us. And I would like to make Nigerians understand something, that from my understanding of what is playing out, cashless, they don't want enough cash to be in circulation, even though economists, experts in the field who are economists, have also argued that this policy is also a wrong one, because India tried this policy in 2016 and it didn't work out. So but that is not what I'm here to discuss this morning. What I'm trying to say is this: the policy, cashless policy, manifesto of it be a good one. The cashless policy obviously is affecting many of us. I sent money across to a fellow citizen some days back. Up to today, the person is here to get the money, and it's the same story all over the nation, across the nation. So there are challenges with internet facilities.
Yeah,
I know of many banks that they can hardly carry out any transaction. The so-called internet banking, they cannot do that. These are challenges, fundamental challenges affecting Nigeria, and it has led to serious frustration. There is anger in the land, good and fine. But I'm looking at the governors of these three states. They are approaching the court of law. Was it done in good faith? That's my interest. And I think they didn't approach any court of law because of the sympathy they have for their people. I believe they actually approached this court of the Supreme Court because of their political interest, not that they actually care for the Nigerian people. If they actually knew for the Nigerian people, they should have gone to court to file an action as well. Concurrently, they should have approached the Supreme Court or any other court seeking for an order of interim injunction, compelling whoever is in charge to reduce the price of PMS at least to the appropriate price that should, for the time being, that should is with common sense. In which case, anybody who fails to comply will be charged with contempt of court. They never did that. Do they go to banking hall? How many of them go to banking halls? Now they become the emergency activists. So as I said earlier, what is playing out in Nigeria is like a battle going on in a polygamous home. That's my own understanding. In that polygamous home, President Buhari is the husband of the home. Then NFL is a house help, but the president, the head of the home, is in good terms with the house help. DSS is another official working under the control of the head of the home.
Okay.
Then we have political wives. Political wives are some candidates in this election who are interested in running for election. And then this house help, the house help is MFL. This house help is trying to do something that will affect the interest of these political wives. Because this house help wants to seize the money that these political wives will use in achieving something. Now, the state governors are the children of the home. You know, these state governors are the children. And you know, if you're a man, head of a polygamous family, they call you head of the home. But you know, you are the head. They say that women are the neck. So President Buhari, he's the commander-in-chief. But in my opinion, that's my opinion, he may not do anything to these political wives that are crying, because they are also strong women, strong political women. They are crying serious that MFL must go. The head of the home does not want to fire MFL because nothing stops President Buhari now from ordering the arrest of MFL based on the allegations that have been leveled against him by DSS. And now what DSS did by approaching Federal High Court some weeks back to obtain an order, I will refer to the Federal High Court with due respect as President Buhari's brother. That's one of the three arms of government. So they now approach President Buhari's brother to get approval before arresting President Buhari's house help. And that brother said, no, why are you approaching me? That my brother is still around. My brother is President Buhari. Go and meet him. Tell him to arrest MFL if he wants to arrest him. So that is what is playing out in Nigeria. So these three governors, they are the children of some political wives or a political wife somewhere. I hope you understand what I'm saying. A political wife that is a political wife or some political wives that are running for, that are interested in the presidential seat. So it's like something wants to happen, and the interest of these wives or wife will be affected. So they are fighting. So they are not fighting for the Nigerian people. They are not.
And if you take a look at the CBN Act of 2007, the CBN Act actually says that once old notes get into the banking system, it has been mopped up, and ordinarily itself, it shouldn't, make its way into circulation. Now, most people have questioned if CBN should be sued at this time, because it was a few days ago that news made the rounds on allegations emanating from Nasser Al-Rifai. He accused the CBN of printing only 300 billion naira new redesigned Naira notes after mopping up about 2 trillion of the old Naira notes. Now the CBN is supposed to print enough that would actually be enough for everyone, even as they are mopping up a couple of Naira notes. So it will be a situation where people actually go to submit their old notes and are able to get access to these new notes. What do you make of this whole cash scarcity in the coming days? Elections are just around the corner, and we know that a part of the reason for this Naira redesign policy is to actually curb the vote buying in the build-up to the general elections. What effect do you think this will have on the elections and on Nigerians going forward?
The point is that, as I said earlier, if the Kaduna State Governor is of the view that the central bank as an establishment, or the central bank governor is not doing the right thing, the right court to approach is the Federal High Court. For the Federal High Court to now look at the actions of the central bank governor and just oppose them with the provisions of the Central Bank of Nigeria Establishment Act of 2007, and then pray the court to make necessary pronouncements, the right court should have been approached. Secondly, the Central Bank of Nigeria, it has its constitutional and statutory mandate.
Okay.
And as I said earlier, the central bank is trying to bring into place a policy, cashless policy, which is actually affecting us. So we don't expect the federal central bank as an establishment to release maybe enough cash to be in circulation when the establishment is preaching a cashless policy. As I said, this policy sought to be implemented is not favorable. Adequate measures were not put in place for this policy to be seamless. There is inflation in the land, because if, for instance, you are making few amount of money few cash to be in circulation, the few cash in circulation can buy virtually little or nothing, then it's not working out. It will only lead to frustration and crisis in the land. I also know as a fact, if I should apply little knowledge of economics, that once there is a lesser circulation of money, it's also to a great extent curbs inflation, because people will now be compelled to resort to necessities. Like for some days now, I've not bought any ihafia for my family. I only accord attention to necessities because of what is playing out. Because you want to do online transfer, it will not go through. So I only concentrate in purchasing necessities. But by and large, the central bank, the policy to a great extent is failing because of the prevailing circumstances in the land. However, if you think that the central bank is not getting it right, if you think that the central bank has violated the provisions of the law that establishes it, you should approach the right court. Because if you take a look at the provisions, or a holistic look at the provisions of this particular Central Bank Act, we found out that even the central bank, while carrying out its mandate, is not expected to be under the control of any other person whatsoever. The central bank governor is expected to be independent-minded, in as much as he's to be liaising with the president, and his policies should be that will be geared towards ensuring that that all is well with the financial sector and economy of the nation at large. So many of us are not happy with what is playing out. But if we are a country that advocates for a resort to rule of law, then you should approach the right court. And as I said earlier, as I keep repeating, those that approached the Supreme Court may not have done that because of the love they have for Nigerians. They have gone to the Supreme Court because maybe the political interest of some persons are about being threatened. And I would like to say something. Whether we like it or not, in this forthcoming election, there will be vote buying. Only that, assuming they had in mind, assuming some persons had in mind to share 10,000 naira per voter, they may end up sharing 1,000 naira per voter. It's not left for the Nigerian people to decide what they want. So, because I know an average politician will do everything humanly possible, to subvert due process, to embrace any nefarious line of action. A conventional politician will always do that. So if you think because of this policy that they will not have their way at the end of the day, I'm sorry to let you know that they will still succeed, only that they may not succeed the way they actually want to. And that may be what is fueling Malam Nasir Rufai's complaint that that we don't have enough cash in circulation. Because if we should have enough cash in circulation, maybe some persons will mop up the cash in circulation and then use same vote buying on the election day, so that when the candidate of party A, who may be a good candidate but who doesn't have enough resources, is telling people to vote him on that election day, the candidate of party B will be busy sharing 10,000 naira, and some persons now tell you, let us collect 10,000 naira in our place. They will say that no, let us collect this 10,000 naira and go our way. And another thing will most likely happen on the election day, because of this scarcity of naira, scarcity of the new denomination. On that election day, we may find out, we may see the new denomination in circulation by some of these political actor. Okay. And because of that, those who are in need of the new currency may now be compelled to collect this money from them, in order to put against their conscience. But it's good we inform Nigerians on time, especially those who are listening to us. After listening to us, they can also help sensitize others, especially those in the rural communities who may not be privileged to be listening to us, to appreciate the fact that the choice is that of Nigerians to make, to collect money from these people and suffer untold hardship for the next 8 years, or to reject the money and do the needful. I wouldn't tell anybody to collect money because it's against the provisions of the Electoral Act. But for those who are hell-bent on collecting money, what I will tell them, even if you collect money on election day, you have to use your senses and do the right thing and vote the right person, those who you believe will come into power and put in place policies that will make you not to suffer much as a person. So for vote buying, the rest assured there will be vote buying on election day, this forthcoming election.
I want to go back to your analogy of the president being the head of the family and having wives and children, some disgruntled and all. I want to ask you if the law has any provisions where the president can actually decide, given the powers vested on his office, to call this entire thing off and allow the use of the old Naira. Is there provisions within the law for an executive order that says, okay, this whole thing being done by the CBN can be called off by the president?
The president can never do that. He does not have the powers to do that. He can only do that indirectly. How? One, he has the powers to suspend the central bank governor. Suspension, not removal. Okay. Because for him to remove the central bank governor, it has to be done based on grounds provided by the CBN Act, and same must be supported by a two-third majority of the Nigerian Senate. Okay. So he can instruct the central bank governor. We know that it is said that he's independent, but that's in theory. Of course, he visits President Buhari every now and then, as is, going by the analogy I gave earlier, as the child of the home, as the house help of the home. So President Buhari can decide to tell him, okay, for the time being, do away with this policy. And I believe if the president should instruct him to do that, he will do that. If he proves adamant, like what happened during during the former President Jonathan's era, he may decide to suspend him, even just raise one allegation and then suspend him, especially now that DSS has come forward with several allegations against the central bank governor. But for the president to have kept, or for the president to have allowed the central bank governor to be operating up to your date without at least publicly exhibiting any reservations about his actions, shows that he may be enjoying the president's support. And if some days back, there is this news that has been in circulation, allegation that some persons are working against the presidential ambition of Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That's why I said earlier that it's like what is playing out in the country is a battle in a polygamous family, political polygamous family. That is what is playing out. That's why I know as a fact that Malam Nasir Rufai is sympathetic to Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu's presidential ambition. I wouldn't know for that of Kogi and Zamfara states for the governor. So if they're also in Bola Tinubu's camp, then it will be glaring that this particular action that was filed for the purpose of protecting the political interest of Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Because ordinarily this policy, on the face of it, may affect some persons, some money bags, especially when we just oppose this development with what happened some years back, wherein some bullion vans or a bullion van?
Yeah, a bullion van.
Okay, a bullion van found its way into Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu's premises. I say found this way because one of his aides came out the other day in one reputable media outlet and told us that the bullion van mistakenly found its way in Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu's compound. So whether it was by mistake or it was intentional, the most important thing is that we saw bullion van in Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu's premises. So there's this belief that maybe some persons have cash, a huge amount of money stuck in some places which they hope to use on the election day. And as I said earlier, I keep repeating, Nigerian people, whether they like it or not, they'll be vote buying on the election day. But this election is all about choice. This election is all about choice because from my observations, many Nigerians are yet to learn lessons from the suffering of the past 7 years plus. Many Nigerians, from the way they are behaving, they are yet to learn their lessons. But it's all about choice.
All right.
If you want to collect money on that day and vote them, no problem. You continue living the same way. More hardship will still follow you. You know, they are the extension of your life challenges. You know, in this era of extension, everything is now being extended. So if you want your hardship to be extended, collect money and vote those who have been tormenting you. And let me make something clear at this juncture. It's not only about one political party. If Bullion Van was found in Chief Bola Tinubu's premises during the party primaries of the opposition People's Democratic Party, it was alleged that some persons were also seen sharing money. So it's not only about APC. No, even APC and most of these political parties, they do embark on vote buying, just like what happened in Osun State in the last governorship election. So it's not only about APC, PDP is also culpable. And that reminds me, some days back as well, custom intercepted a truckload of this thing carrying fake dollar somewhere, fake dollar. So maybe on the election day, fake dollar will also be distributed. In which case, when the fake dollar, every fake naira will be distributed, you'll be deceived in double fold. You will collect fake money, and you will still end up maybe voting the person that will torment you. So for those that want to collect, I will not advise you to collect money. It's against the law, but ensure you examine the money very well. But I will advise you not to collect any money.
All right, we need to go on a quick break for the news. When we get back, we'll open up the phone lines and get in your reactions. To stay with us.
From the capital of the Southeast to the world.
This is 94.5 Urban Radio Newsbreak.
Good morning and welcome to Urban Radio News Updates in 94.5 seconds. I am Adobe Inaji. The candidates of the political parties in Enugu State have signed a peace accord to work towards peaceful, free, fair and credible election. The police in Enugu State have arrested and charged a woman, Chiwendo Nnamani, to court for allegedly extorting money before issuing voter cards to their owners. The governor of Abia State, Okezie Ikpeazu, has directed an immediate ban on the roasting of fish and other animals, as well as cooking within the major markets in the state. National Universities Commission has ordered the closure of universities across the country to enable students to participate in the February 25th and March 11th general elections. The National Security Advisor, Babagana Manguno, yesterday said the Naira scarcity and the cashless policy will affect military personnel deployed to remote places. And in sports, Nigerian sprinter Divine Oduduru has been suspended from competition indefinitely by the Athletics Integrity Unit for 2 anti-doping violations. On entertainment, Grammy Award winner Thames is set to add another plaque to her collection, with her single found surpassing over 500,000 in sales in the United States. And you're up to the minute in 94.5 seconds. I am Adobe. A very good morning and thank you for listening.
From the capital of the Southeast to the world.
This is 94.5 Urban Radio Newsbreak.
Why do we talk? We talk because transformation begins with a thought, and talks provokes thoughts, and talks inspire our consciousness. A new consciousness stimulates change in individuals and societies. Nigeria is not a geographical expanse of land spreading from the north to the south. Nigeria is the people that live in it. A nation is transformed only when its people are. So let's keep talking until we get it right. Join us every weekday for the Parliament, 9 a.m. exclusively on Urban Radio 94.5 FM.
Welcome back. You're still listening to the Urban Parliament on Urban Radio 94.5 FM. Do join the conversation. Phone lines are open. 09128945945
or 08093999945. Those are the numbers to call this morning. Join us as we continue to discuss the developments from the Naira redesign saga. What do you think about what the three governors of Kogi State, Zamfara State and Kaduna State have done by filing a suit in the Supreme Court to stop the federal government from maintaining the February 10th deadline for the use of the old Naira notes? What are your thoughts? Share your thoughts on this radio right now.
Hello. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Asobi.
Good morning.
Yagase.
Good morning.
And good morning to you.
You're welcome.
Ayo from Obiago. Thank you. Make sure your guest, may God bless you there and reward you for the good. It's only Nigeria that don't have here that will not achieve something for this today's topic. That those governors that are coming out to drag CBS to court, that you will extend the money. You see that they are not there for us. Those money they pack, they want to share for people, and after they share money to you, and they will collect the money, they will not be able to have anything to offer you. Your guest there is telling us that it's better for us to vote wisely and think of all the polio of Nigeria, the suffering of the suffering, all this right, the way country is now, than vote for the person that will make the country feel other, not the people that will destroy the country more. If you don't have it here, it's better for you to have it here and do the right in this coming election. And wipe away the APC, vote for P2B, that is the only man can bring this country in a better in order than Tinubu and Atiku. All those money that be sharing for time, once they enter into power, they will not be able to offer you anything. They will like to collect the money with double interest. That is why this country is made darkness today. Because you are not voting for the right person, you vote for because of 5,000, 1,000, because of 500 naira. It's over for 4 years or it's over for 8 years. The best for you to look at the way this country everywhere. Hunger and the police attack INEC officer, attack do NSS. Look at what happened to us because of they don't care for us. That is why all those things that is happening. Because you don't vote the right person that will bring the thing, you vote for the person that will give it to them. This time around, now God has chosen it to help keep Nigeria in the peacefulness that Nigeria is. The best way to do the right thing, forget about those. Once they enter those power, the money they steal from you, they take you and you. They will collect the money and with their interest, they will not be able to work for me and you. That's why you see that everything, everything. The way Nigeria will be like in this thought that speak for many years back, to say Nigeria take. Now it's better for us to be.
All right, Ayo.
All right, Tayo. Let's get in other callers. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Barrister Sidi Obey.
Good morning.
Now in Nigeria, we've been experiencing this hardship in our financial environment. In my own opinion, anyway. By the way, my name is Udog Adonis. I'm calling you from Akeza in Ebonyi State.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. It is not out of place to redesign the Naira notes and withdraw the affected old notes. However, the time and the manner in which the exercise is carried out put the entire nation into serious hardship and challenges. And the Nigerians are not finding it funny because in this current financial quagmire, a lot has happened. First, the CBN gave till January 31st, 2023 as the last date for the usage of the old notes. But the availability of the new notes within that period were so exiguous. If after the CBN made some precatory adjustment and extension of the date to February 10, and we are still experiencing this scarcity of the new notes, it appears that they are not prepared for this exercise. So I would rather advise that they will do everything within their power to put in place the mechanism that will help in providing these new notes to ameliorate, to make things easier for the nation. Thank you very much. Adonis from Akeza.
All right, thank you, Adonis.
Thank you so much, Adonis, for your thoughts. Keep the calls coming. Hello? Hello?
Good morning, Adobe.
Good morning.
Good morning, Yagazie.
Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, Obe. Good morning.
Good morning.
Dr. Bass is the name, calling from Enugu.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
Indeed, I must applaud the guest. He has spoken well. I must add a few things. One, the policy of CBN, somebody like me, I've been advocating for it. I'd always maintain that if I have an opportunity, they must go cashless. That's one way of checking corruption and one way of actually doing monetary policies and bringing expanding the tax net so that those that are supposed to pay the tax, they should come into the tax net, and then we can actually structure our social welfareism and understand those the poor amongst us, those that cannot get up to 300,000 naira in a year. You can actually push all these your social safety net policies to them, and then get from the rich and give the poor. That's how every other nation actually survive. Now, CBN are actually should they, first of all, let me put without being antagonistic to the governors, CBN should go and thank the governors, and I'll tell you why. It's the policy they made. If you take a look, it has actually yielded a whole lot of good. And what is that? First, they've said they got up to 2 trillion naira into the coffers, which is one thing they wanted. Secondly, see that insecurity, so from places where you hear kidnapping, have actually drastically reduced. Now, the third aim is to call voter buying. But there's a problem. And what's the problem? CBN admitted that there's an implementation crisis. They didn't envisage what they are actually saying. They didn't factor in this crisis. So there was no point at any given material point in time they would have actually reversed this. We should actually understand that this policy of redesigning Naira has been going behind for the past 2 years. It wasn't something that was episodic. So anybody that's actually trying to put it across that it was to be used against the person actually is laughable. But then there was a problem with implementation. And by the way, they minted less amount of money that is supposed to be used. That's the pure truth. So CBN was handicapped when there was issue of money had gone out of people's coffers. You don't have enough crisis. So the only option CBN had was actually to expand it. Now there's a window up to 15th, which actually CBN should go back and look at what they should do. For me, it's a very simple thing. For those who think that the politicians wouldn't have access to the money, I can tell you, I already have access to the money. Across all political parties, except the minor, smaller ones, and those that don't have the big mouths, almost every other political party are dishing out funds in all their political campaigns, and these ones are in their hundreds and millions of naira. And then the new currencies across all parties, none is left. Not one party is left, except the ones that are small, that don't have. But every other party have been doing it. So every party is capable of that. Two, they have the politicians and the big boys, the governors and so on. They've had access to these monies, and we know quite clearly that they compromise the banking sector in the commercial banks in order to get access to money. What would have happened? What would have happened is a very simple thing. Tie the news on people, go on election day, where they will do vote buying with 10,000, they will do it with 1,000, and they will still fly. The most important thing is that people are cash crunch. So what am I trying to point out? Now, they should go back. There are problems. What is the problem? The internet services are down in so many banks. Zenith number one, because I have suffered so greatly on it, and so many other people. And then two, they should really look at how to bring the USSD code to function effectively, so that the woman nail up should be able to get USSD code in her account, and then she wouldn't need to suffer, she didn't need to pay. They have between now and Wednesday to fashion out a better policy. If they're going to coexist the two money at the same time for some time, they can do that. If they want to expand the time for people to bring them back their money, they could be able to do that. And then the third one, they should allow these politicians to bring out their money. Because this money, if they bring it out, they should actually take them rather than just burning the people's sweat. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bassi, for your thoughts. Keep the calls coming, 09128 945 945.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Good morning.
Naira. Good morning, man.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We found ourselves in a tightrope, and I don't think we can just profess solution across the counter. When the judiciary steps into a matter like this, everyone has to think. Basically, people are suffering, there is no money. What is the shortest course to get it done? We saw that this policy was going to fail from onstart because we don't have the structure on the ground. Most of us said that, but it was ignored. Even on radio, even in urban radio there. And what is it? You don't plan economically, and then you leave the Minister for Finance and Economy out of the system. You don't do that. You've already planned to fail. Now we're doing it in reverse version. What is them? Emerson is the best. That's why he's central bank and governor. But then in planning the economy of the country, can one say he is the best? No. So what we can do now, anything the government can do to ameliorate the present situation we have at hand, the earlier, the better. I don't know what's going on in Enugu, but in Asaba, it's all funny. It's not funny. Government has to do something as quickly as they can so that it doesn't degenerate or snowball into a situation that might even overwhelm the government.
Right.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Lady Adaze, for your thoughts. We'll go pay some bills. When we get back, we'll continue with the phone lines. Don't forget, we're also streaming live on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Urban Radio 945. Do well to drop your comments. We'll get to check them out before we wrap up.
APC!
Vote gi maka governor tunyere APC ebe seraziza.
Dear valued customer, here are easy ways to link your NIN to your Airtel number. Just dial *121# and follow the prompt, or simply SMS your NIN to 121. You can also download the NIMC app or visit www.airtel.com.ng/NIN. You also get a 20,000 Naira welcome bonus when you complete the link.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
The Auto Ease Academy by Auto Ease wishes to inform the general public of its official commencement of the 2023 program sessions. For existing and prospective candidates interested in attending our various courses, applications are now open for intermediate and advanced level courses in auto panel beating and painting, auto interior works and detailing, auto painting works and variations, advanced auto restoration, with added courses in personal development and life skills. Course duration 3 months for intermediary and 6 months for advanced. All programs are 100% practical. Candidates should visit the Auto Ease Academy campus at number 22 Umuleri Street off 6th Avenue, Enugu, or visit our website www.autoease.ng or on Facebook and Instagram Auto Ease NG, or call our hotline 090 9000 6258. Auto Ease, your car is our priority.
na Yusuf Dati dike na abọdịrị idozi obodo Nigeria na adọ ndọrọndọrọ ọchịchị onye isi ala obodo Nigeria
gekwa ntị ọfụma. Mbọsị election ya bụ mbọsị a ga-ebinye aka n'akwụkwọ sapa anya wetu obi ana chọọ ebe esere nna nne na ofu nwa ya bụ LP
for Labour, P for Peter.
LP ya bụ Labour Party. Bịanụ ka anyị jikọ aka ọnụ dozie obodo anyị bụ Nigeria maka ọdịmma onye ọbụla.
Tụnyere Peter Obi maka President Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Tụnyere Labour Party. Ndị na-akwado ozi a bụ Peter Obi Support Group WMV.
A new Nigeria is possible.
Nigeria ọfụ ga-ekwe omume. Gwazikwa ndị ya dị unu.
From consumption to production, Mandela, Namlanari. I hear also no Gani, they buy
My name na Ekele and na accessories I dey sell. Whether na earring o, belt, even cufflinks dem, e full my shop na. But people no go buy wetin dem no dey see na. Abi, to you, I just dey flood your timeline. To me, my phone na my shop, my Airtel data na my rent.
The important things in life are powered by data. Dial *141# to choose any data plan that works for you. Airtel, the smartphone network.
PDP, power to the people. Ndama chinu kutu wenu kuko na ego na cha. Ndama ne waka o. Ndama chinu kutu wenu kuko na ego na cha. Ndama wane chiani o. Ndama buroda o. Ndama chinu kutu wenu kuko na ego na cha. Tinyere honorable Barrister Peter Ndubisi Mba n'ebe sere umbrella ka ọchị Enugu State.
Public service announcement. The leaders and people of Imamangu Autonomous Community cordially invites the general public to its glorious Odo Masquerade Festival happening on the 11th and 12th of February 2023. Venue Nkwo Ngu, Amebo Village, Ngu. Time 2 p.m. daily. Come one, come all. Signed, Surveyor Leonard Ugudinso Ozo Ugungu.
Keep your brand or business ahead of the competition on Urban Radio 94.5 FM Enugu. For advert placement, announcement, program sponsorship and other businesses, contact the marketing department on 0701 753 1399, 0806 367 3748 or 0803 521 3282. Or you can visit us at number 3 Okwa Street, Independence Layout, Enugu. If it is urban, do it.
Action Alliance ụmụ mmadụ biri ndị Enugu State ọ bụ onye kunukwu n'azụ ọ bụ Barrister CD Ogbe ka anyị kwụ n'azụ ebee ka anyị ga-ebinye aka ebe sere kpakpando nke ugo nọ n'ime ya ọkpakọ ụmụ mmadụ biri bụ ihe anyị na-achọ ndị Enugu nwewe ọṅụ ndị nzọpụta bịawo ebe sere kpakpando nke ugo nọ n'ime ya ndị Enugu oribelo ndị nzọpụta bịawo ebe sere kpakpando nke ugo nọ n'ime ya ndị Enugu nwewe ọṅụ ndị nzọpụta bịawo ndị Enugu ebe kunu ga-ebinye aka ebe sere kpakpando nke ugo nọ n'ime ya ndị Enugu nwewe ọṅụ ndị nzọpụta bịawo binye aka n'akụkụ ebe sere kpakpando nke ugo nọ n'ime ya tụnyere Barrister CD Ogbe aka n'akwụkwọ ka ọ bụrụ gọvanọ Enugu State. Action Alliance ụmụ mmadụ biri
Welcome back. Still the Parliament on Urban Radio 94.5 FM. We get back to the phone lines and continue to take your calls, callers, and your thoughts about the topic of the day. We are looking at the suit filed by the three northern governors against the federal government because of the Naira redesign policy. What are your thoughts about it? Share it with us this morning. 08099945945
and 09128945945. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, my name is Chigozie.
Welcome, Dr. Chigozie.
Yes, I think the CBN, the Supreme Court order is neither here nor there. Why I say that is that there are questions that are coming up from it. Is the CBN under the Attorney General of the Federation? Does the Attorney General have control over the CBN? Beyond the fact that the clearance has to be gotten from the President, does the President have the right to give a deadline to CBN? Now, is the CBN Central Bank of Nigeria or Federal Bank of Nigeria? I think, is it not a bank of the Federation instead of a bank of the federal government? Is there a dispute between the state corporate and the federal corporate? So, you see, the CBN government can find an excuse to dodge this order. And from the investigation I made yesterday, there has not been any directive from the CBN to the commercial banks as sort of end of work yesterday.
Yeah.
If it has come this morning, then it's a new directive. So it means that whoever is talking and telling Kaduna people to go ahead and continue using the money may be deceiving them. In real and practical terms, have they succeeded? You see, the politicians are under pressure. I have been in Anambra for the past 2 days. I saw a sitting member of the House of Rep, a still senator. They were, instead of now bringing cash to the people, they were transferring money. One transferred 1 million naira to be given to the people they went to visit. And then the struggle is how to distribute the money that has been transferred. One is asking for the community to get the account number where they will transfer a certain amount of money to ensure that they were delivered. These are the money that they will already have shared in cash. And anybody telling that politicians are not feeling the impact, that they have got all money stuck away, I don't think it is correct. I reported on this station about the filling station, Pinnacle in Oka, asking people to take cash in new notes. What are they doing with it? It shows you that they are under the pressure of the new narrative. See, the common people can withstand it more than they can do. They are very desperate. That's what we're seeing in every fire. The fact is that as it is now, I think this ship has left the harbor. Nigerians, if we get over with this deadline, we can begin to readjust and sort out this thing instead of going back and forth, because politicians are not happy. The country and co are not happy. If people they want to continue doing the whole thing, let us get Nigerian economy moving for once. Instead of all this to and bad movement, we want to see what will happen on Wednesday. But the whole process is looking at the Supreme Court to see how the Supreme Court will turn the law on its head. Otherwise, I don't think there is need for this back and forth. Practically by tomorrow, if you are carrying the gold notes, you need to go to the Supreme Court to get the notes to let somebody collect it from you.
Yeah.
Good morning.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Chigozie, for your thoughts. Keep the calls coming. 0912894.
CBN policy. It's a very nice policy. What I'm saying that look at the Kogi state governor that could not pay salary for 8 months is going to court. He says he's crying for the masses. He's not crying for the masses. The policy is affecting him because he's not doing anything as a governor of state. I like the policy. CBN should continue with it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Keep the to get to Facebook and check out most of the comments.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning. And Adobe.
Good morning.
Good morning. The incoming governor.
Good morning.
Good enough. Somebody from Kogi called. Is it not Kogi that directors and farm trades committed suicide because the governors didn't go to the right court? But is that not enough for federal government to quash it? It is enough. So I don't believe that there is any extension. Malami, being what he is, has said, and I don't believe any extension will help Nigeria. In fact, these people, I believe APC have problem within their fold, and let them go and iron out their. How much are we bought? By 2019, I was part and parcel of PDP. What we were given is 75,000. Out of that 75,000, what women cry for, they are giving 100 naira. So the populace should be ready. They should be ready. People are saying, when they are giving money, collect, and they vote. Don't collect if we are going to do the right thing.
All
what
right.
is that 100 naira? The women just use it there to buy okpa. Is it enough?
Okay.
In fact, we contribute in our suffering. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ranke, for your thoughts. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Abba.
Good morning.
And good morning, Yax.
Good morning, Mr. Bernard.
Bernard from Transekulu.
You're welcome.
I greet my brother, Sidio.
Good morning, sir.
Yes. I love what you said, Barrister Sidio. Why is it that they are filing, going to court? Why is it only on Naira resigning? Why did they not pick other issues that are bothering the masses? We have a lot of challenges even before the redesigning of the Naira. Why did they not? Autumn has been shouting, the only governor shouting that look at what they are doing in his state, killing his people. Why have they not joined Autumn to go to court and file an action? Because I see the Obe, may God bless you. The people are interested. They are Bello of Kogi State. He is the youth Kiniko of Tinubu, APC leader. He's a youth wing campaign director. He knows what is why he is doing all this because he wants something. Otherwise, there are other pressing problems that he should have raised.
Okay.
So, when just like my brother said, when you see a governor crying for something, he's interested in that. He's not interested in the masses. I told you people that there are ways you can, and we call it impact assessment of government policy. Any policy that the politicians or corrupt people they did not make noise over, that policy is favoring them. But anyone that they kick against, it means that the thing is hitting them hard. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts. Keep the calls coming. We'll take possibly one or two more before we wrap up this morning. Hello? Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name?
How are you?
Good morning. Can you tell us
How
volume of your radio?
today? How is everything today?
Very well.
Okay. About the people that is going to court. Because the thing is hitting them hard. Students are not going to school for how many months and they don't care to go to court. Forever is more than 500. They don't care to go to court. And they don't care to go to court because this one is hitting them hard. That's why they are going to court. So I'm asking the federal government and CBN not to extend it. It's disturbing us before masses, but we can endure it. It's more better for us to endure it once and for all than to extend it so that they will use the opportunity. They are going to Supreme Court. They are going through the normal court. All of them know what they are doing. It's because this thing is disturbing them. So I am advising them not to shift it at all. So that all
of us will suffer it. Next time, people that will enter will know what to do.
Okay.
Please.
All right.
All
right. Thank you so much, Ifeanyi, for your thoughts. We'll get to Facebook and check out a few of the comments that we have on Facebook before we get back to our guest this morning. All right. This first one here from Isaac Mome. He says, "Good morning, Adobe and Yagaze, barrister and the barrister in the studio. The cashless policy is a very nice and good policy, but the CBN were not prepared for the policy because of the new Naira note that was not in circulation. Okay, they told the public to deposit the old Naira note, and again, the internet mobile banking system is very poor. I find it very difficult to make transfers. My suggestion to CBN is that they should allow both the currency, the old currency and the new currency to flow." All right, Peter Nna Amarni says, "We are really suffering in this country. Barrister Obe, with due respect, I don't think you can handle the pressure of being a state governor. I think you should start from local government chairmanship first before any other leadership positions." All right. Akoje Imi says, "I'm very happy with what CBN is doing, but the banks should make the USSD service code work effectively to reduce the suffering of the masses."
Modon Emeka Onyenna says, "Will people fly to their respective polling units for voting on this cashless economy? Don't you think it will affect electioneering, considering the people's financial quagmire and hunger in the country?" All right, and also we have here Ndubestema who says, "Another survey in favor of the most competent." Okay, that's not for us this morning. We also have Comrade Ono Ejike who says, "Good morning, Adobe and Yax, greeting to CD Obe. I am Comrade Ono from Go. I really enjoyed the explanations of Barrister Obe on Supreme Court's pronouncement on the Naira deadline and calling on President Muhammadu Buhari and CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele to obey the court order, because we are in democratic dispensation where rule of law prevails. Thanks." All right, those are some of the comments that we have on Facebook this morning. Let's get back to Barrister C.D. Obe to begin to bring this conversation to an end. Barrister C.D. Obe, you've heard from the callers what they think about this particular Supreme Court suit that the governors have filed. What are your final thoughts and your closing remarks as we conclude the conversation this morning?
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to thank the various callers and also those who are waiting on the social media platforms. I would like to start with what Dr. Naira said with regard to the fact that the central bank governor may decide to avoid the court order. The central bank governor, I believe, there are lawyers who are advising him on the right thing to do. And as I said earlier, in the course of the submissions I made, that going by the case of Gwede against the Delta State House of Assembly, I think that, yes, DSHA, an order of that nature, you are bound to obey it, even though the central bank was not made a party to the suit. The central bank is an agency of the federal government. I agreed. The central bank would have been a necessary party. But as I said earlier, maybe the governors or the governments of the three states that approached the Supreme Court, they intentionally excluded the central bank governor decides to disobey the court order. He knows the implication. President Buhari will not be in power forever, and you should know the way the Supreme Court behaves. That's why at times when they deliver some judgments, such judgments serve as punitive measures jurisprudentially to correct the Supreme Court at this juncture, of the central bank at this juncture. So I think it will be in the interest of the central bank for the time being to honor that, to respect the order of a court of law. If you don't feel comfortable with that order, necessary steps should be taken, and the Attorney General is already taking those steps. And then one of the, I think on Facebook platform, one of the listeners said that asked the question whether people will fly to the various polling units. Yeah. Of a truth, we just hope and pray that this election will not be postponed. The challenge with this financial crisis going on at the moment will take an unprecedented toll on the outcome of an outcome and the manner in which the forthcoming election will be conducted if the election will be postponed, especially if it will postpone the way it was did the last time in 2019. Because in the last presidential election, I think the election was postponed on the eve of the election day, when people had already traveled from many very far parts of the country to their various places of domicile, while hoping to vote in a particular direction, only for INEC to break the news that the election will no longer take place. Because I believe that if people should travel from very far places to the places where they are to exercise their franchise, and the election is postponed on the eve of the election, because of the high cost of transportation, it will definitely amount to an indirect disenfranchisement of many Nigerian people. But for those who will not travel to far places, I don't think what is playing out will affect to a great extent the manner in which people will exercise their franchise, because most voters, the many polling units, additional polling units have been created by INEC of late, which has made the voting centers to be closer to the people, so people can easily stroll down to the various polling voting centers to exercise their franchise on that day. I think someone raised the issue about the cohabiting, the old currency cohabiting with the new currency, if I'm right, was there?
Yeah.
I think the central bank governor has addressed this issue when he met with the House of Reps ad hoc committee that was taking a look at this issue. I think the old currency will cease to be legal tender at the expiration of the deadline given by the central bank. The central bank monitors the financial flow in the various commercial banks. Okay. So if on a given day they say, okay, this money, this old denomination ceases to be legal tender, agreed, you may still be allowed to deposit the old denominations, but that you're under the scrutiny of the central bank, because they keep record of all these transactions. Even the money accepted by a commercial bank, you must show where this money is coming from. And going by the issue of money laundering, there's an amount of money, cash, you cannot carry. So once the old denomination is deposited at the expiration of this deadline, and you're unable to explain, you're able to, who deposited some amount of money. As I said, there's an amount of money cannot carry in cash deposit, because some of these politicians being suspected to be in custody of huge amount of money. These monies are stashed in places illegally, huge amount of money that ordinarily amount to money laundering. So they cannot bring out this money openly. They can only do that by distributing it to people, during their campaigns or on election day. So that's why they are kicking against this policy. Then I think this one concerns me personally. The person who was advising that I should have gone for I'm not here for my campaign, but I think I've run for chairmanship of my local government, Enugu South local government, on 2 different occasions. And some persons who are now telling me that I should go for chairmanship, some of them never voted me. This is a case of what our people refer to as Ibo Ibura Munsu. I came out to be a local government chairman, you never voted me. Now you are telling me to go and contest for local government chairmanship. And today is not my campaign. When I pay Urban Radio, I'll come back for my campaign. But I think at this my youthful age, I'm 37. And as a lawyer, without any more, ask any average lawyer, any person who practices law, I can tell you ordinarily can be a good governor, because everything boils down to law. Talking about health sector, it is law. Talking about the economy, it is a central bank issue. Go back to law. So once you are practicing law very well, which is a very, very tedious profession, you can do well as a leader. Especially now that I'm even still young. So today is not my campaign. When I come for my campaign, I will tell you good people whether I'm strong enough. I can handle it very well. Lawyers, we handle stress by virtue of our profession. So that's it. So I'm using this opportunity to address those that are raising that issue, that I should have. Our mates in some countries, the president of France, how old was he when he became the president of France? You want me to be a local government chairman, but when I came out, you never voted me. So let us leave it at that. Those that will vote me, they will still vote me.
All right, we need to get going. Thank you so much, Barrister Omi, for your time this morning. We really appreciate your insights on the conversation. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
All right, a very big thank you as well to our parliamentarians and those who joined via Facebook Live on the Facebook page, and also those who called in through the phone lines. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time from Monday up until this moment for the final edition of the Parliament this week. Well, we fold our hands and watch and see what the coming days holds for Nigeria. But all I would advise is we should all be safe, do the right thing, and hope for a better tomorrow. Well, signing out, I am Adobe.
I am Yagazi.
Just stay with us for the rest of the Urban Radio programming. Good morning.
Because our world is now fully interconnected through technology, web-based interactivity is at the